Okay, we're entering part 4 here of realhistorywww.com, and we're looking at this racist guy's website that thinks that all Caucasians are albino Negroids, and that Negroids were all over the world and they started all societies, but somehow regressed back into the primitives that were found. We haven't got there yet, though, people, but we're about to get into a few other things. And I don't know if you know where we're at here, but we were looking at mixed tomb paintings. So let me switch to that real quick, and I'll just kind of slowly go down through these. Um, Here are these Kurgan burial type sets that they had going on, and there is some erotica shown in some of these, but of course, none of those look like Negroids whatsoever. And I think it cut me off right down here at the bottom. Yeah, we were at the sarcophaguses, and then this group of people, and the man with the long blonde hair, and the lady, and then you get here, and they're about getting ready to hammer a victim. They knock him in the head. They knock him out totally. Then they flick his throat and sacrifice him and stuff. And so you're looking at the good guys and the bad guys, and they're all the same color. And in fact, this guy's probably the palest one out of all of them. He's next. And it tells you that they do knock them over the head, and then they're placed in a tumulus. And Charon, the grim ferryman, stands ready with a hammer to hit the victim over the head before admitting him to the underworld, Hades. And of course, he's blue. So now whites is Martians too, y'all. And we're also angels. If you look, all the angels are always shown as very pale, and of course, so what that comes from Caucasian religions. It's nothing that blacks to involve themselves with. Here we have Hermes right here. It's carrying a woman, slab from Cairo, Louvre, Paris is where it's found out in the famous museum. 6th century BC, Hermes in Mercury, as people are known him, as messenger of the gods, and he's also known as Thoth to the Egyptians, who they themselves will tell you was Tautus the Phoenician. And of course, Phoenicians are the ones that started writing, and so that's how it all came together, and that they had theirs, but of course their original cuneiform style had come from Sumerians and the Akkadians, and all the way up through Anatolia and down. Everybody had a commonality of using ancient Sumerian, or ended up later Akkadian, for trading and things like that, and talking and using king speech to each other. It's well known. But so he's the messenger of the gods, and here he is taking this pale lady, but none of those are Negroids whatsoever. No prognasticism whatsoever. Yet he's got the flaming wings and stuff. So I don't know what he's trying to show. Oh, wow. Does he think this is a black guy because the other one's blonde haired? And nobody's black in that whatsoever. So, oh, is this a black guy going to a white priest? No, this is a white guy with dark hair talking to he's bald, talking to a balding with that Greek-looking balding kind of effect here. And that's a wall painting. Pretty nice effect there too. And they're pointy-toed shoes. Ooh, we talked about those earlier. Guess who these people come from? And how come he's so wise? It's the Augur priest. So we see that, right? Augurs. We were talking about that before. 6th century BC. So this is after that. There's some places where you can see a difference. There's some donkeys, and then all of a sudden there's horses. And there's a small gap right there. And it happens to 3 places within 100 years. So, within a little more than 100 years if you gave everybody's gaps. They think this is black, maybe. I don't know. He's got blonde hair, and it's long as hell. You know? Almost looks like the god Typhon to me. But, Battle of the Amazons. Yep, here they are all fighting the Amazon lady and stuff, and none of those are Negroids. No. Actually, that's pretty good drawn art right there. That's pretty well done. And of course, there's a horse there already in this. Yep. Okay. So no. Oh, which Is it the fact that the one on the right is a little lighter than the one on the left that makes either one of them possibly a Negro? No, neither one. But look at the size of the hands of that bastard right there. Cool. And his feet too. Let's see, reddish brown haired, blonde haired, brown haired. That looks almost like green haired. But he's got an armor thing on, and that's got that blue and it faded to a green color. Had they known that, they would have used the color that they used for green that turned blue and used it on there, and it would have turned over time. Of course, they were looking at it then and not thousands of years later after oxidation and stuff happens to all these. So here's a neat one too. This is a Tomb of the Shields, and then you see inside here that there's a banquet scene from Tombs of the Shields, and you can see the pale, blonde-haired, red-haired. There's a Caucasian man right there. Really looks kind of like, I don't know, it's a few people that kind of looks like to me. I'm not gonna. Nicolas Cage, kind of nah, and pale, redhead, dark, reddish brown or auburn, redhead, dark red or red brown, and they're all pretty tan except for, look at these. These are, it's a funeral banquet, so there should be wrestling and things like that in there too. They had all these weird rites that I've gone into in other videos, but so now we're looking at priests and priestesses that are going through the stuff, and those guys stay inside all day and keep themselves pale. And priests, are, of course, in this Caucasian edict are always shown as being pale, just like women and so on. Women are pale, men are not. Priests and nobility are pale. Unless they're in action, then all of a sudden they're dark too. And so we see a couple of Caucasians here, and oh, a pale guy, blonde-haired. Yeah, Tomb of the Leopards. It's got some real great art in this, you know, and he does have a collection of art pictures he's shown here that are real nice. And look at the conical hat here, the Phrygian hat, and this is Tomb of the Jugglers, and it shows them juggling rings, juggling things inside there. It's pretty neat, right? And oh, here we go. Here's the very first talk to the hand. Check it out. Supposedly, they've come up with the idea that she was trying to keep him from leaving, and he's wanting to go on a ship. Yep. So this may be the very first talk to the hand. And it's supposed to be like him wanting to leave on a ship and her griping about it. And you can see her hand on her hip and her hands up and stuff. The pale lady, redhead, and she's got swastikas and symbols all over her dress. And he's about to leave and go. This is called the wife protesting husband's departure, or whatever. So man holds a crook in his left hand. You really can't see it too well, but you can kind of make out that line that comes up, and it curves right there. So yeah, and neither one of these people are black either, but dancers in a tomb, and just because one of them is tanner, then the other one is drawn in art, and that's a female and that's a male. He's got long blonde hair. That makes neither one a Negroid. None of these are, of course. This isn't in Negro land in any way, shape, or form. Negroes were never up here. He wants you to try to think that some of these people are somehow Negroes. Blonde head, brown, black, blonde. Wow, we got a lot of blondes in these things, and he's showing them too. Usually they just harp on these and then they Photoshop them. Some of these do look like they have been darkened just a little bit, but then he shows you things like this. Some of those red-headed guy and stuff in there dancing, you know, Etruscan paintings and stuff. So, yeah, you know, Trojan prince comes in with the horses, and of course the Trojan horse. And and yeah, look at this. There's wrestlers and stuff. Lots of times that goes along with funerary rites, and they had things going on. It was almost like there was a little festival that went with all of this. And Tomb of the Augurs here, and there's a scene. There's an inscription that says, "The priest, he stands to pass," and it's got a false doorway there, and it almost has that Egyptian concept with the false doors and all those type of things too. Oh, here's some wrestling. Here's some wrestling, red-headed men. So yeah, here's some wrestling that go on, and Tomb of the Augurs here. So yep, none of these people are black. You know, this is pretty good art though. This is real good art. You can see there's some shading they did to it. You can also see it's been ruined, probably by mold and uh, water erosion and things. Look at that's a pretty nice ship there. It almost looks like it's in the mist. Of course, that's probably just erosion over time, but it dates to 5th century BC, right? That's pretty neat right there. Oh, and Etruscan women. Latin women. Yeah, they can be tan, they can be pale, golden haired, auburn here, auburn. Yep. So I'm not seeing it, people, and so we go back, and one more set of pictures here. I don't want to spend this whole one on pictures. I'm trying to get all the way down to the part where he really starts talking about Proto-Indo-Europeans and so on. But um, he says these have some that are a racy nature. Oh yeah, this is Poseidonia. Man, this is gonna take a second. Poseidonia is an ancient city in southern Italy near the western coast, and it's the home of Poseidon in one of the myth tales onto it, or one of his multiple places that he had gone to, and there had been a temple erected for him. 22 miles southwest of modern Salerno and 5 miles south of the Selle, or the ancient Salarians River. Paestum is noted for its splendidity. Preserved Greek temples. Poseidonia was probably founded around 600 BC by Greek colonists from Sybaris along the Gulf of Taranto, and it had become flourishing town by 540. Judging from its temples, after many years' resistance, the city came under domination of the Lusanians, and indigenous Etruscan people, sometimes before 400 BC, after which time the name was changed to Paestum. Alexander, the king of Epirus, defeated the Lucanians at Paestum about 332 BC, but the city remained Lucanium until 273 BC, when it became under Roman rule, and a Latin colony was founded there. During the invasion of Italy, Hannibal, when he came in, the city remained faithful to Rome, though, and afterwards was granted special favors such as the minting of its coinage. And he's just going to blur past that, but also Hannibal was Hannibal Barca, and he's a Caucasian, of course. And you can look at all the minting of the coins, and yeah, they showed some black people on their coins, but that doesn't mean that they were black people. And in fact, there's too many coins that go the other way, and they're trying to show the king, not some subjected people from whatever. But Hannibal Barca, and he founded a place that's still there now. They had the Olympics there not too long ago, Barcelona. We call it Barcelona now, but it was founded, and it's and reset, but kept the other name, and it still does today, and nobody really has a problem with it. Maybe some people don't really know it. The locality was still prosperous during the early years of the Roman Empire, but the gradual silting of the mouth of the Salarius River eventually created a malarial swamp, and the Paestum was finally deserted after being sacked by Muslim raiders in 871 AD. The abandoned site remains were rediscovered in the 18th century. Right, and so they had left out of there whenever Spain come in and invaded, and everybody says, "Oh, Spain invaded." They invaded all of Europe, and it's like, the Moors, they invaded all of Europe. And it's like, no, they invaded Spain, and they helped out some of the places there, but that's not the same thing. The abandoned site remains were rediscovered in the 18th century, so they'd been abandoned that entire time. The ancient Greek part of Paestum consists of 2 sacred areas containing 3 Doric temples. I need to show you all a video, it's pretty cool, and a remarkable state of preservation. During the ensuing Roman period, a typical forum and town layout grew up between the 2 ancient Greek sanctuaries of the 3 temples, the Temple of Athena, the so-called Temple of Ceres, and the Temple of Hera I, which was also a basilica. Late from the 6th century BC, while the Temple of Hera II, also called the Temple of Neptune, was probably built about 460 BC and is the best preserved of the 3. The Temple of Peace in the Forum is a Corinthian Doric building, began in perhaps the 2nd century BC. And if you have Corinthian and you know where Corinth is, then you understand the connection even in art and styles that had gone on from a long time ago from the Caucasian North Africans that are there, and then the recreated styles that run all the way around the Mediterranean. Anyhow, of the 3 temples, that are there. Traces of Roman amphitheaters are there. Place of the Forum is there, as a Corinthian Doric building began in perhaps, as well as intersecting main streets they have. It's squared off and things. They've been found circuit of the town walls, which were built of travertine blocks, which shows you that other style, and are about 15 to 20 feet thick. It's about 3 miles in circumference all the way around this whole thing. In 1969, a farmer uncovered an ancient Lucanian tomb that contained Greek frescoes painted in the early classic style, and I believe I have shown you that all of that tomb because somebody went in and looted it. But they had pictures from before, and contains other treasures from the site. Interestingly, one can't help but notice that in these tomb paintings, important people are black, and the lower classes like gladiators and washwomen are white. Let's see what he's got here, because I haven't even seen a questionable one yet. Oh my God, he hits us with a questionable one right off the bat. But you know, it really looks like Billy Joel with a tan, but I mean, I gotta give him one, guys, I really do. There's somebody at least you might claim is a Negroid, even though it's not. But yeah, hey, you know, compared to all the other guys, now a true Negroid without admix doesn't grow any facial hair, and you can see this had facial hair all over it, so I'm going to have to say probably, definitely not, of course, and knowing true history, but at the same time, yeah, it could just be oh wait, hold on a minute. He's got blonde hair. Yeah, he's got blonde hair, and it's straight, and it's not knotted up or bantu in any way, shape, or form. Oh, and he's got thick eyebrows, almost like a Greek-looking eyebrow. This is somebody that looks more like Herodotus or somebody like that. Yeah, so we'll just go from there. Male fresco, Necropolis. Okay, now let's see if we can find any other blacks. So here we have these tan guys. This, I mean, I'm darker than that right now, and I haven't even been out and it's winter all the time. But look at this pale lady. You can see how the women are kept pale, and she's got a ribbon for him to put on his horse. This is an ancient symbolism thing. They've got, I'm surprised I don't see a swastika, but you do see the 4 winds symbol. See? And cavalry and noblemen approaching a white woman, and that's in Poseidonia. That's in one of the frescoes that are there. And well, this has been, somebody trucked that out there, but it looks like that would have been horses, maybe, I don't know. And I want you to note that there is a swastika right there on a shield, and it shows you this guy here, he's about to fight, and he's got naked to fight. Some of these things he used to do. Has a very Trojan helmet. The size of the head on that guy too. So it's a 321 BC, so that's kind of neat. Oh, here's a close-up of the left side, so you can see the pink on these people over here. I don't know why he's showing this and trying to say they were black. Okay, and then there's cows. Oh, it's not horses, it's cows. Okay, but then there's this swastika on a shield, all these shield sets that are there. And then, he does have it closer up, so you can tell this is a Roman guy here, and he's got brown long hair. And then they've got these conical helmets, right? The ones we've been seeing and all that stuff, all the way going through kurgans and everything, which shows you an influx. And horses are showing up, by the way. And then the Trojan War with horses comes important in history. But look at the size of that guy's head. I mean, he's not much closer than this guy, apparently, because you look at the size of their heads, and he's just huge. There's giants. And what do we got here? Oh, yeah, pale women. Not even really colored out, just pale women. Even if they had tan to them a little bit, nobody's that tan. Really, they're not. I mean, that pale. Really, they're not. Even albinos have more color in their skin than that, just due to blood and things like that. But I mean, ghosts aren't even that damn color, for Christ's sake. But yeah, and this isn't a black man, so whatever. Oh, a black man arguing with his wife. Now he's got him in an argument. I say he's throwing her a bouquet and telling her he loves her. But black people want to have an argument with their wife. And that's not a black man arguing with his white wife, although they have some fantasy about that. It's called coveting others. That's not good. White. No men at all here. Yeah, so then the man that's been on his horse out in the sun all the time comes in tanned. Yeah, okay. And 2 women getting pretty. fixing their hair? Are they doing a dance, perhaps? Yeah, and now they got blushing, that Adamic skin. Redhead, real long hair. Look, past her waist. She's healthy. Got a big old butt, too, like we were looking at before. Oh, they're making like drapery hangers and things for the horses, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know, for their husband to come home, or no, maybe it's just hanging things that you see there, and all this symbolism and these lantern type things that are hanging up. It's kind of neat. And you see these guys fighting. Oh, and so maybe he's trying to insinuate, well, because some of them are pale and some of them are tanner, then the tan ones are Negroes, and that's not reality at all. It's kind of sad. Oh, here's what I'm telling you. This is one of those frescoes I was telling you about. This is one of the last non-horse chariots. This is donkeys. I don't know if you can really make it out in the video there. See if I can get in here on you. That's donkeys. You can see the sallow eye. These are donkeys, right? No horses yet. And you can see this guy is pink, and he's all there yet. And then, oh, well, is he supposed to be some black king? He said it was all black kings. Oh, a black nobleman and general riding in his carriage with armed escort and Heidi. No, look at his arm. Look how pink that is. It's kind of pale. His whole arm is pink. I know you can see that. See that pink? Yeah. Oh, well, he's a little darker. Oh, he's got a tan. That's fantastic. It's not black person. There are no black person in these oh, this is one of the ones that are the first ones when they start showing you people having horses in. You can tell they're drawing them kind of, yeah, they're pretty good, but it almost looks like that cave art, but then it's done a whole lot better, isn't it? And you can see it's kind of sketched before, and they tried to make it look right and sketched in, and then they came over it harder. Like you see in a lot of the Egyptian stuff, where they put in a rough drawing and then they come over it again whenever they know they've got the proportion right. I guess they stand back and take a look at it. He's bringing in new banners. And look at this writing here. I'll show you something about that writing. That's not writing that looks like anything from here, and it's not runic really either, is it? No, it's something from far east. Yeah, it's something from the east. Sure is. And so, oh, this is one of the coolest ones. I remember this. This is darkened, by the way. But this man here, if you'll look, it's really done well. It's in perspective. This leg is poking out at you, even though he's squatting. This one's up on here, and you can see this 3D effect to it. And his one arm coming across. The other one's missing a piece here. And look how the woman looks. I mean, it really has that look of a fresco of much later days. You can see there. That's somebody who had some artistic effect to him, definitely. Yeah, I'm going to eat this whole video up just on pictures here, but it's nice to take a break from just me yammering, and we'll continue. But yeah, all these guys laid out, and they're eating and stuff. You know, that's good. Let's see if we can get something in here before I go to change. But he's trying to tell you that those are all black people. And now he says, some speculate that white racism developed because of resentment on the part of the white peasantry to the wealth and privilege enjoyed by the black elite. Some speculate that the white racism developed because of a need to salve a wounded conscience because of the atrocities committed in the Americas. And the subsequent trade in the sub-Saharan slaves. The contrived logic being that since those people weren't white, they weren't really full-fledged humans, so treating them in the most inhuman ways was not really systematic of a barbarian people. Therefore, whites could continue the fantasy of thinking of themselves as an enlightened and advanced people. There's a lot of statement there. Some speculate that black racism developed because of a resentment on the part of the black peasantry to the wealth and privilege enjoyed by the white elite. Some speculate that black racism developed because of a need to salve a wounded conscience because of the atrocities committed in the Americas that they dream up that were from Jewish slave masters that they blame on the white people that fought and died to free them and everybody from slavery. And there were 6 times more whites in slavery than there were Negroids at one time, and only 1.6% of Caucasians owned slaves in America in the height of slavery at like 1845, 1850, that census line. And something like 35% of freed blacks actually owned other slaves, and the largest landowner in South Carolina at that time was a freed black man. But that's a whole nother story. So, and white people never went around catching black people. They went around catching their own people and selling them off for beads and alcohol as unwanted, like a Jewish or like a drive-through slave mart to Jewish slave masters that aren't the same as calling them just all white people, because you don't know which ones are which. And always want to use words like systematic and things like that. And it was indeed a fantasy. Contrary to the contrivance of modern white historians, white in Europe had failed miserably at building upon the advanced civilizations they had taken by force from the original black inhabitants. There weren't any. No device, no science, no art, the classical Greek and Roman empires can be shown not to have existed elsewhere first. We showed you stuff from buildings. He tried to say that there were black people. You looked at them, they weren't black people. And we know that's so close to right now. There's no whoopsie black people going on anywhere. But he's like, oh, something happened. Well, if blacks were so fantastic, why did that happen? Oh, it was whitey cracker magic. Now we're back to that one again, huh? Okay, so let's see, up until the time of the Industrial Revolution, white Europe had produced absolutely no advancement of any kind. As examples, the first steam engine, called the ALL, was invented by a black Egyptian, Heron of Alexandria. Oh no, Heron isn't, Heron is a Greek man that was living in Alexandria and studying at the Library of Alexandria at the time in 60 AD. This is much after the point. He's not a Negroid. Heron of Alexandria. So, no, we're not gonna do that. But what was neat, I've done him in another video before. He made all these little steam engines and things, and a spinning device, and the very first type of engine concepts that come out of stuff like that. It's pretty neat. But even before him, there was Stenibius, and he actually built all these little water clocks and whistling things, and he had worked with the temple and made it to where they had automatic opening doors where it seemed like it was magic, and all these other things and devices. And I've got a couple of those in one of my tricks of Christianity videos that I had from back in the old days. But I digress. So he says there was no thing, and it was, there was no advancements there. How about Socrates and philosophy, and you carry all that the way through, and then you end up having people like Sir Isaac Newton and all the astronomers that had figured out things, and the Persian astronomers, Arabs and stuff, Islam. Those people, if they wouldn't have gotten religion crazy and made them think that numbers were something of the devil, to where they could quit adding and doing things, those people were really on the edge of it. They had learned a lot from the old Chaldeans and things, apparently, and took it off for, they named a lot of the stars that we have today, categorized them and things too. They had figured out advanced maths and so on. Algebra actually comes from them. But the Sumerians before them had trigonometry and things that go past that level too, and perhaps we're just now finding out that that was the case. But anyhow, he also invented the first wind wheel, that guy did, and a couple of devices. I'll show them to you in another video. Anyhow, the windmill gunpowder seems to have been co-invented by the Chinese and the Indians. Not necessarily. It was the Chinese around 900 AD, and their trade back and forth gave it to the Indians and stuff at around 800 AD. But right around that time, they had already first made projectiles with it. Let's see, with the Indians being the first to use it with projectiles. Not true. I believe it's the Chinese, and they used it with a stick bamboo, shot out the end of it, and it was really more of a scaring device, and didn't do that much damage, and you had one shot at it, and then you had to just drop that and start fighting with a sword, and it really wasn't the first actual gun. What does he say next? The first actual gun was likely invented by black Egyptians. Well, there's no such thing, so no. And Egyptian doesn't have any attachment to it, but he's got to try to put black in there somewhere. So now he's going to say, well, the Egyptians were black, and they make guns. It's hilarious to watch people go through this thing. Anyhow, certainly first used by the Egyptians against the Mongols. And no, at the Battle of Angelou in 1260 AD, Egypt was then under Turkish control, and the list goes on. Actually, the first guns, it seemed like, were used by the people that were in the Turkish Empire and stuff that had come in, and they started using them, but they didn't have them perfected. They'd backfire on them, and all kinds of problems with them, and you couldn't reload, keep shooting them, things like that. And they were a straight stock thing that was just like you were holding on to a little mini cannon with your hands. It didn't work too well. Then we rifled barrels and things like that, and all this that we're talking about is all forms of Caucasian. So no. Let's see. Egypt was then under Turkish control. Oh, so he does mention that. Okay, right there. So it may be that white racism is a defensive contrivance designed to develop an us against them mindset amongst the white populace that would encourage cohesion and thus advancement. No, I'm going to say that all you do, here we're going to do it again, is you just put black in there, and you can realize it really is that and true, because one of us doesn't seem to care and is going on and trying real hard to pretend the other one is equal, while the other one is trying to show that he's definitely not, and doesn't want to be considered it, and doesn't want to have cohesion. So it may be that black racism is a defensive contrivance designed to develop an us against them mindset against the black populace that would encourage cohesion and thus advancement. See? Not just European history, but world history as well. Note the whites are the least numerous of the races. Well, no, if you figure it as Caucasians, it's not really that way. But if you want to say Nordic whites, or you want to say European whites, and so on, and you start breaking it down smaller and smaller. Of course, if we do that with blacks, and we go, what about West Africans? Not versus the population of, Negroids all over the world, but just West Africans. What if we said that? So, anyhow, in time, according to the European albinos, not only were the Greek, Roman, Etruscan, and Celtic Gaul civilization created by whites, but created by Caucasians. They have this problem. I swear on the videos, I'll say da Caucasians, and they'll go, "You think you Nordic white?" And I'm like, "No, Caucasians. The people in Egypt right now are Caucasians." Oh, striking. Everybody's a Caucasian all across Europe. Unless a Negroid has gotten in there, or you have somebody that's from Asia or the Orient, or you have a Mongol living there somehow. Everybody else is a form of Caucasian on the whole planet. So it's funny that it doesn't come across too well when they try to figure out this. Oh, and we're all albinos. They're not the oddity. Okay. In time, according to European albinos, though, as he tries to do, laughably, the Egyptians, we also, also Caucasian, Greek, Roman, Etruscan, Celtic, Gaul, they're created by whites. Also Egyptian, Phoenician, Carthaginians, Sumerians, Persians, they said they were Aryans, all of them, those are all Caucasians. They're not in sub-Saharan Africa. No, of course not. Now, when the writings and artifacts of the ancient black people from all over the world, there are none. Black people had no written writing till Islam, really. I mean, you can look this up, and you can't find any. You can find a few cultures that had some symbols, but that's not going to work with a phonetic writing concept, alphabet, and things like that. That's writing. That gets to a certain point of another form of modern human. Let's see. Now, when the writings and artifacts are the ancient black people all over the world, these people who invented and were prolific in the arts and the sciences, he's not talking about Negroids, who invented civilizations. Yes, he's not talking about blacks. Now their likenesses are now nowhere to be found. Blacks are nowhere to be found. They weren't in the first place, so there's no magic. It's just ta-da, poof, and there's nothing. There's no rabbit in the hat. And now when a black face does show up, it's said to be the face of a slave. You can usually see him tied up and stuff like that, and You just know that it is whenever you realize, and they talk about eunuchs and things like that at certain times. Of course, that comes much later than all this forming society situation happened. They never knew it existed. So, yeah, I think we're going to end that here in just a second, though. But most grievous, perhaps, is the last arriving white Turks. There's no other kind of Turks. Circa 200 AD, who, because of admixture with the indigenous blacks in the territories that they conquered, felt justified in assuming the identities of those ancient blacks. Now Turks claim to be Arabs, Egyptians, Sumerians, Berbers, Persians, etc. No, they don't. And there were no blacks involved in any of that. Nobody was indigenous blacks, and in a video I'll show you who got displaced there slightly off of it, but then how they went west and not south in any way, shape, or form. But also, the Turks know that they come from the east, and they don't claim to be the Arabs, Egyptians, Sumerians, although the Ottoman Empire did take over a lot of these areas. So they can claim that they did take it over at one time. Like West Africans can't claim that they're running anything but their mouths. Right? Yeah. In regards to the Turks faking as Arabs, Egyptians, Sumerians, the one crack in the albino plaque seems to be the wiki article of the Augurs Turks, which goes on to say the people of Turkey, Afghanistan, Syria, Balkans, whatever, blah, 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 are descendants of Augurs Turks. Notice there's no mention of Arabia or North Africa. Albinos can only manage so much truth at any one time. No, they don't claim to be of those areas either. And so it wouldn't be written in there. They claim to have come down and taken over the Ottoman Empire. Right? Okay. So that ends part 4. And now we'll go on to part 5, and it should be up there in the top right-hand corner. So if you need to start over, it's in the first one, and we'll continue from there. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.